Welcome back to another video of Davian's phone collection. Today we're going to be starting up and shutting down all of my devices for 2025. I was going to do it for last year, but the files for it got corrupted unfortunately, so I decided to cancel the 2024 edition. And now for startup and shutdowns, we will be doing it every 2 years now. So this year we're doing it, and we will do it again in 2027. It's going to be freaking epic. Now let's get on to this video. So first device I'm going to be starting up is the LG C1300 on Singular. This phone came out in August 2004. I've looked it up on the web and this phone came out in 2004. I thought it came out at the beginning of 2005, right when I look it up. But I found out that this phone came out in August 2004. So this phone is 20 years old and it came out in 2004. Let's boot this thing up. Now you don't see the Singular software too often on this device because I'm more focused on the Samsung SGH A107 in the collections. Some of the phones you'll hear buzzing because it's searching for service right here. Before I power it down, some of the buttons are getting to be worn out. Those two soft keys here, and the two 5 and 0 buttons right here onto this device. Right now I'm recording on my iPhone 11. Next up is the Motorola Razer V3M on Verison. This one, I do have to plug it into the charger to start it up because when I plug it in, it says unauthorized charger. So which means that I do have to start it up with it plugged in, as you can see here. And I have my charger with me so I can plug this phone in. Now, this year's, the 2023 version of it, sorry about that, it's gotten a bunch of views in it. This phone is recently having issues with the motherboard, where certain stuff I go to, it just randomly restarts on me. Here's unauthorized charger. Now, the phone number will be censored in this video, by the way. As for Motorola phones, it displays the phone number, but since this one doesn't have service, it might not do that. Since this is a flip phone with two screens, we're going to do it with the internal and the external. And it became the slowest dumb phone in my collection. Now here is the external side of the device. Wait until you see the screen, sorry about that. It's taking long for it to boot. Oh, here it is. Says unauthorized charger right onto the external display. Right here, as you can see here, this happens commonly with Motorola phones right here. If you have an aftermarket mini USB charger right here, like this one here, You can see the time for a bit, and then it goes away right here. Next up is the LG VX A300 on Verison. Both this and the Motorola Razer V3M came out in 2006. I'll just tell you the release dates for the devices, as you can see. This will be started in both screens, as you can see here. This one uses a CRT type display, so you'll see lines here, you'll see lines. The speaker sounds bad at the startup, unfortunately, but it's alright. Next up is the LG Rimmer Touch on Sprint. This phone came out in March 2010. It's currently the oldest phone in my collection with a touchscreen, as well as the oldest micro USB I currently have in my collection. Currently, the power button on this phone is stiff, so I might have some difficulty of powering down this device, as you can see here. Next up is the Samsung SGH A107 on AT&T. This phone came out in May 2010 as a basic phone for AT&T users right here, for those of you that have a basic phone to get for cheap. It's currently the only flip phone I have on AT&T right now. Next up, I have two HTC Incredible 2s, both on Verison. One of them will be started up right here, as my second one doesn't have a battery in it right now. Those take very long to start up, as you can see here. Might be time-lapsing this, as you can see here. This one most likely has a micro SD card in it, so this thing's taking forever to boot up right here. This became the first HTC device in my collection currently right here. The first Android phone I've ever used in my entire life is the HTC Evo 4G on Sprint. And this is when I first played Angry Birds Seasons on it. And it was my first time playing Angry Birds back then in 2011. That second HTC Incredible 2 was having a hard time booting up, so I've decided to not show you the second one booting up, unfortunately. If it continues to do so, then the HTC Incredible 2, my second one of those, will be in the drop test, and it will become the first drop test of 2025. Next up is the Pantech Breakout on Verison. This one came out in September 2011. The two HTC Incredible 2s came out in April 2011. I really like the Pantech phones because they look unique. In the previous startup and shutdown video, it was powered down quickly because of the battery. This one uses the same startup sound as my two Verison dumb phones that I just recently got, by the way. And by the way, the SIM card slot here, the SIM card slot doesn't work on this device anymore, because in 2022, I've damaged the SIM card slot by inserting a nano SIM card on this device, so I cannot use SIM cards on this device anymore. But this phone will still run great, though. This one is a cosmetically flawed Pantech Breakout now, by the way. This became the first device I did an unboxing video on. Go check that out in the description below. Next up is the Carouser Duramax on Sprint. This one came out in October 2011. And it became my first Carouser phone in my collection, as well as my first Sprint flip phone in my collection. This is by the camera. Since this is a flip phone with two screens, I'm going to start it out here to start up with the external screen here. Uses the same ink screen as the LG 44 OG, the longest lived device of all time. Next up is the iPhone 6 on Verison. This is the one that I have a screen protector on. This one came out in 2014. And Detroit Borg did an unboxing on this device, by the way. The one I have is in space gray, by the way. Stay tuned for the 2025 phones and tablets I got for 2024 coming soon. Unfortunately, none of the new ones arrived for last year, by the way. This phone's running iOS 12.5.7, the very last version this iPhone received. Sorry about that. The first iPhone that arrived in Davian's phone collection was the iPhone 4S. I had that device, but it was passcode locked and it was later iCloud locked, so that device was removed from my collection after 2 days. Next up are two Samsung Galaxy S7s, both on Verison. This phone came out in March 2016 as one of the flagship phones of the Galaxy S7s, by the way. Both of them started at the same time, I believed, but I'm not sure. The S7 I used to have is in gold, but the AMOLED broke on it, so I've removed it from my collection. The S's I used to have are the Epic 4G Touch, which had bad software, so I've removed it. And both of these phones have screen burning in it. And the S4 I used to have, but it had a broken AMOLED, so I had to get rid of it. The screen protector for both of these devices, I got it on January 1st. And that one screen protector here used to be on my rose gold S7. But I had to take it off because it was not staying on properly. Fun fact, my rose gold S7 used to be my main phone, but I've stopped using it as a main phone to make way for that one A23 5G device I'm going to start up in the next couple phones here. Now this phone here has a glitchy digitizer. Rose gold shut down first, and then the black S7. This is just a speed test comparison here, the speed test comparison of these two devices. Now this black S7 is shutting down the slowest, as you can see here. Probably due to the CPU, and it just shut down here. Next up is the Samsung Galaxy J3 Eclipse on Verison. This phone came out at the very beginning of 2017. I had to take the battery from my S4 that I used to have to this device because the battery I put in when I first got this device was bulging, so I had to throw out the battery, as you can see here. Now here's the device starting up, and I do apologize for that music in the background. No copyright infringement intended for the music in the background. This phone runs the same Samsung Experience software as my S7s, by the way. And it became the slowest Samsung smartphone in my collection currently, by the way. And this one's low on battery, by the way. Now for the next device, I will be using a different device to do a startup and shutdown on. The budget Samsung smartphone I used to have back then was the Core Prime, but that phone got stuck in a boot loop, so I got rid of it in January 2021. If I want to show you that one clip of the Core Prime that I used to have starting up, I will be putting this on Perry Extreme, one of the YouTube channels that used to be called Michelle Vegas 7. Next up is the iPhone 11 on Verison. This is a phone that I am using another device on to record the startup and shutdown on this device, which I'm using my iPhone 6 to record it on. Now, this one used to have a screen protector on it, but both of my screen protectors broke, one by itself and one by attempting to take it off manually to clear the bubbles on it. This one's running the latest version of iOS. For newer iPhones, you have to hold down the volume down button and power button to power it down. These two screen protectors for the iPhone 11 were short-lived, unfortunately. Next up is the LG K31 Rebel on-track phone. This phone came out, I believe, to be in August 2020. The iPhone 11 came out in 2019. This phone is cracked because in July 2024, I believed. I've accidentally dropped it on its face and it cracked right here, but it still works perfectly fine. The LG phones that are smartphones I used to have are the LG Optimus Fuel, which I've removed due to software issues. The LG Fiesta 2 because it had a broken screen and charging port. The LG Rebel 3. This was the phone that I've shown you on the first Perry channel ever. That phone, I've removed it from my collection because it got worn out and stopped working. The video editor I've used to edit the video is currently UCut. This phone has taken a long time to cooperate. This phone's going slow right now, by the way. Lastly, for the phones is the Samsung Galaxy A23 5G on track phone. This is my main phone and it came out in 2022. I like this phone because it has 64 gigabytes of storage and has 4 cameras on the back. It's in a protective case. I did drop it a couple times and this case does a nice job in terms of protection, of course, right here. As you can see here, and it became the newest cell phone in my collection on record, as you can see here, as this phone came out in 2022. The year that I've started Michelle Vegas 7, which is now Perry Extreme. Comes in a couple colors right here. This phone's taking forever to shut off right here. There we go. That's it for the phones. Now let's move on to tablets. We are in tablets, starting with is the iPad first generation. This one came out in April 2010 as one of the first tablets that are computer tablets to come out right here, as well as the oldest tablet I have in my collection. Notice right here that it has the old Apple logo on it. I really like this tablet because it has the old iOS on it. It's running iOS 5.1.1. Got this the year this channel started, by the way. Next up is the iPad second generation. Released in 2011. And it's on iOS 9.3.5, the very last version this device supports. Schools continue to use this until the early 2020s, I believed. Probably until 2022, I believed. I remember my school using an iPad 2 back then, which is pretty rare for someone to use an iPad 2 in school. notice the tape on it because of that hole in the glass, but that's how I got it. It is currently a cosmetically flawed device, a cosmetically flawed iPad 2, because it is cracked right on the glass. And last but not least is the Samsung Galaxy Tab A 10.1-inch 2019. This tablet came out in April 2019, and this became one of the longest-lived devices in my collection, and it has been here since the debut of Davian's phone collection. This one's missing the camera glass, by the way, and this one has a broken headphone jack, a glitchy digitizer, and a partially bad charging port. But this tablet still boots up. Also, the battery is a little bit bulging right here, by the way. This tablet is running Android 11. It had Android 9 from 2019 to 2020, and Android 10 from 2020 to 2022.
Shut my door.
Do apologize for that noise in the background, by the way. Now that's going to do with me with the 2025 edition of the Startup and Shutdown on all of my devices. This is Davian's phone collection. Thank you for watching. I hope you like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you again in the next video.